This is a view of beautiful Cadillac Mountain covered in snow on Mount Desert Island. We're headed out about 8 miles. It takes us 3 miles to get to the end of Schoodic Point, another 3 miles to the 3-mile line, and then a little further to the traps. So it was 3 degrees when we left this morning, but it's probably warmed up to balmy 15 degrees. Sun's shining, no wind, late January, out on the lobster boat. We're out here to our traps, and I want to bring you aboard to haul with us for the day. Here I am approaching the buoy. Use this gaff on the rail to grab the buoy. Throw it in the block, the fair lead and the hauler. Take some slime off. And drop the buoy in the hot tub. That's got a coil that heats the water up in there. And that hot water will kill the slime on these buoys. Dip in the buoys, kill the slime. These are 50 fathom warps. These traps are in about 32 fathoms of water. A fathom is 6 feet. And that's what we use to measure our warps. A warp is the rope that's coming in the hauler. Here comes the first one. We're hauling 5s or 5-trap trawls. We never used to in the area where I fish. We always used to fish triples, but because of the new whale rules and the federal regulations, we've had to increase the amount of traps we fish on a line. And the minimum amount that we're allowed to fish in this area is 5 traps. So that's what we're doing. We've also got breakaways and purple markings and other markings on the rope. This fish is called the sculpin. We catch a fair amount of them. And we're going back. So the purple marking I mentioned is the marking we put on our rope in Maine. We fish in Federal Area 1, which is basically where all of the offshore fishing in Maine happens. And we put that marking on it in case it's entangled with a whale. They'll know where the rope came from. Hey, I just wanted to show you guys the difference in the size of the lobsters we're catching. It's the middle of January. We're offshore on the coast of Maine, and we just caught a 100-year-old lobster. So this is what a typical 1-pound lobster looks like. This here is a 2-pound lobster. This is a select. And this right here, look at that compared to this 2-pound lobster. That's probably a 10-pound lobster, 10, 12-pound lobster, big old male lobster. And he might be 100 years old. We don't know because they don't shed their shell every year, but he's probably 80 to 100 years old. That's a giant lobster. We've used a measure here, and if they're bigger than that measure there, we throw them back. And so he's too big, and when we catch these ones, away they go. I'm not gonna lie, it's been a struggle the last few years to keep up with all the regulations and changes to the fishery, the reporting and the whale laws and all the things, but we persevere. Us fishermen love what we do. That's why we stick with it. We're not impressed with the regulations the government puts on us. Most of the good regulations from the fishery actually came from the fishermen. And you see, we're picking out all the lobsters. We measure them all. Maine lobsters have to be in a slot. If they're too small, we throw them back. If they're too big, we throw them back. Here we're baiting the traps up with bait bags and menhaden. We call them pogies in Maine. We also use a lot of herring in the bait bags when we can, but that quota has been severely restricted, so they're not as plentiful and available as they used to be. Thank the Lord for sending the pogies, I guess, because they've really been a lifesaver to our fishery. We've had an abundance of them the last few years, and they work really good for lobster bait too, so that's a good thing. You'll notice I'm wearing a pretty silly hat today with ear flaps on it. I would normally be wearing a normal baseball hat, but you can't tell from the video because it's a nice sunny day. There's not a breath of wind. It's flat, calm. It looks great out there, and it was. But it was also about 10 degrees that day, so it was very, very cold. But we were blessed to have a flat, calm day. It was pretty cool for the middle of January to have a day like that out there to haul. So right now my stern man Jimbo is setting out the last of 5 traps off the rail. We stay careful to stay out of the rope. And that's basically how a 5 trap trawl or a 5 is hauled and set back. And we did that 60 times and hauled 300 traps on this particular day. It's about an average day. There's a shot of a big lobster.
We've been hauling traps for 2 days. Yesterday it was 10 degrees when we left. Today I think it was 2 or 3 degrees. We've been looking for 2 days for that buoy right there. We just found it. Last trap of the day right here. Looks like a dud. That's a wrap.
It might be very cold sometimes, and it might be hard work, but it is a blessing to be able to spend my life earning a living this way. We're almost in the harbor, so Jimbo's getting these lobsters crated up. Approaching the co-op here, the Winter Harbor Co-op. This is where we sell our lobsters, get our fuel, get our bait. There's about 30 of us fishermen in this co-op, and we unloaded our lobsters. And this is how cold it was. This salt water is freezing pretty hard up here in the head of the harbor. And it takes a lot of salt water to freeze up like that.
That was a beautiful day from start to finish, wasn't it?
Well, it's gorgeous out today. You couldn't beat it. Not for January. Not a breath of wind all day.
Well, I hope you learned something about lobstering from this video. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.